when people try to think about learning, one, the intuition, I guess, is to feel like you should do something that is totally aligned to your strengths and everything you want, and that by doing something like that, you're going to perform the best and you'll probably learn the most. And that does happen. But then on the other hand, it's also true that there's a kind of like unintuitive learning that comes from doing things that are maybe outside of your comfort zone, and those are things that people try to usually avoid as much as possible. And it seems like those moments usually happen when people stumble into something rather than necessarily choosing it.
Right.
But I've always found that to be an interesting thing too. Is like none of the time can is really. I mean, I guess there's certain cases where you might feel like you really were just learn nothing, but this idea of I feel like some of the things you're getting at is regardless of the situation or the position that you're put in, if you have the mindset of wanting to learn something out of that, that's probably one of the most valuable things. Is that similar to what you're kind of getting at?
Yes, and you also vacillate depending on the company that you're with and the things that you're doing. Different size companies are going to be able to offer different types of things. I will give an example because I have been a consultant since I got out of the time my time in the Army. And there are times that the world goes quite slow when you are basically a staff augmentation type. You're basically an additional employee to the company that you've been contracted to. And sometimes things just don't move that fast. And so you have to find a way to, in spite of being bored, for lack of a better term, find a way to be successful anyway. And there were times that the way I wanted to make shit happen. I wanted to go do stuff. And sometimes you just have to kind of explore. So the bigger companies are going to have more people you can go talk to, more people you can leverage, more maybe perhaps training available, more access to like Safari books or whatever. So you have the opportunity, rather than just sitting there being bored and running into the edges of the internet, you would be able to go grab those books from Safari and read them and learn something and take yourself down to a certification center and get a new cert to, brand spanking new to put in your portfolio. Smaller companies are not going to have necessarily as much stretch money for you to do like a week-long boot camp for something, but they offer a lot of opportunities because there's just so few people for so much work to be done. So if you want to do something, they'll look at you and go try it. You got my permission. Here's an extra 40 hours to go see what you can do with that. And then kind of the world is your oyster, and you're like, okay, how do I do the research to help accomplish what I want to do? So every job that you're at, you just have to look at it and say, what about this job right here? Can I give back to them so that I can be rewarded either financially or otherwise, with opportunities? And, what can I get out of it? What can I do to add this? Now, I'm not saying resume-driven development, but more like, how do you make that a mutual win-win so that for the next 3 years that I intend to be here, I can leave with my head high that I've done things, I've used this as a growth opportunity, and I've also made sure that my employer, who's been paying me a pretty decent wage, whatever that is also benefit from the time that I've been here.
Yeah. And how do you think the idea of trying to absorb something and trying to learn whatever you can from whatever circumstance you're put into, how do you feel like that ties into this theme that we're discussing about taking the long view?
I would say that the more experiences that you have to tap into, the more times you can say, oh, you know what, in the next, like you're building it, like Lego blocks, and you're going to be able to say, you know what, I remember talking to someone like this in the past. Could be 2 or 3 jobs ago, could be, a colleague, it could have been a boss, it could have been a subordinate to you. And every time you just keep your eyes open and do your best to see, the impact that you can have with the circumstance you're in, the more relatable you are, the more you go into future jobs. There's a lot of times I chat with folks that are under 30 and I say, it's not that you're not ready to be a senior or a principal consultant. It's that you literally have not breathed enough oxygen on the planet. You literally just need more time and place. And it's not that you are not capable. It's that literally you have no way to say, no shit, there I was, to an experience that will get a C-level person to listen to you. And it's not that they're being disrespectful. It's literally, you could have read 1 billion books. You could be very smart about what you're offering, but you can't say, I've had that experience before. And so I remember when I was at Booz Allen Hamilton, and I was there for 10 years, and I just thought, how do I climb the ladder? How do I become associate? How do I become a senior associate? How do I move up the ladder? And I thought to myself, gosh, I'd just love to be the youngest, fill in the blank. And the truth of the matter is, every day you can learn something. It's not that you necessarily have to be, if you want to get paid more, you probably have to job hop. In many instances, businesses are incentivized to keep your salary within cost of living and to relatively keep you happy and not promote you until you've already obviously demonstrated the job. If you are literally looking just to salary increase, you probably have to job hop and or complete more education or certifications. But if you just want to see how much you can get out of it in a mutually beneficial way, set up yourself for those 2 or 3 years and see how do you give as much back, but you take as much to increase your own experiential set to go forward.